allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Michelle absent. Annie.
Here.
Brett.
Here.
Justin. Tim.
Here.
Do you have any adjustments to the agenda?
Do we adopt the agenda?
I'll second.
Motion to adopt the agenda by Justin, seconded by Annie. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Passes.
I move to go into the 2024 budget hearing. Second.
You have a motion to go into the 2024 budget hearing by Tim, seconded by Justin. Any discussion on that? Those in favor? Okay, we are now open for public comment for the 2024 budget. Does anyone have any comments they want to share? Either seeing or hearing public, the 2024 budget hearing is now closed.
I move to approve the budget as written. Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the budget by Tim, seconded by Justin. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Passes.
We'll need everybody to sign. I have 2 copies. I need everybody to sign it to form a governing body, please.
I'll move to approve the minutes from July 24th.
I'll second his motion.
Okay, we have a motion to approve July 24th council meeting minutes by Brett, seconded by Tim. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Abstain.
Okay,
I'll move to approve the August 2nd.
Second.
we have a motion to approve the August 2nd council meeting by Brett, seconded by Justin. Any further comment? Discussion? Those in favor? Appropriation ordinance 1510.
I move to approve 1510.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve appropriation ordinance 1510 by Brett, seconded by Tim.
Justin.
I'm sorry, Justin. Any further discussion? This will be a roll call vote.
Todd, can you pass that? Thank you.
Annie,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes.
and Tim.
Yes.
Okay, at this time, we are opening for comments for the public. So I know you and that has got something, I don't know if anybody else does, but you want to start?
Yes.
Okay. Step on up here a little bit so everybody can hear you, please.
Hello, I'm Ashley Troxel, and I would like to address an issue with water coming down the alleyway instead of going down the drainage by our house at 405 East 2nd Avenue. The water is running down the alleyway into the yard and up to our house foundation and causing our crawl space to fill up with water. I have a video of yesterday, after the little bit of rain that we had yesterday, of what was happening in our yard. I am here to ask what can be done to the city alley to make sure that the water goes to the drainage instead of into our yard and into our crawl space.
Ashley, are there any culverts there that are plugged up with silt and junk or?
So the alleyway, like, it has a little bit of a hump to where it's going to, like, try to divert the water to the drain, but it's not big enough. It just comes right over it into the alley and into the yard up to the house.
I went out and looked at that yesterday afternoon because somebody came by the house and told me about it. And there's nothing blocking the water coming down on the side of the street. And really what it looks to me like is that it should really have like a speed bump, so to speak, from the street to go into the alley. And that might be sufficient to pull the water down to the drain. Does everybody know where the house is? It's across the street from the basketball court,
The old schools.
the old school's basketball court.
Okay.
And if you can visualize that, directly across the street, there's a drainage ditch, and it's probably 3 foot wide. But this water coming down from the south, coming downhill from the south, is the alley is south of that drain ditch. The water doesn't get a chance to get to the ditch. Instead, it hits that alley that she's talking about, and it diverts all that water down the alley. And it goes so far and it goes right into her basement. So my opinion is that something needs to be done at that spot. Now, what needs to be done, I don't know. But that might be something that Mike needs to take a look at. We can look at together and see what it is. If somebody has any ideas, we can go with that. My first thought was that it would need a drain ditch prior to that alley. And then, but that'd be too much, way too much work. You have to dig up the street, put a line in, put grades down, run it through there. There's got to be an easier solution to get that out.
I want to go down there and walk around and look.
I'd be glad to go with
I'm
you.
not real sure exactly where. Ashley, what was the address of that house?
405 East 2nd Avenue.
I'll go down there with you if you want me to.
Okay.
Go with you, I'd be glad to. Anybody else go tag along?
I'll go by.
Okay, I'm gonna say at this point, I'm gonna suggest that we go take a look at it and I'll get back with you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else? Public comments? No, somebody else. That's okay, Jerry, come on.
I'm Jerry Haar, and I want to report that the tree at the parking lot where the barracks is 2/3 dead and the limbs are falling off of it, and it probably should be removed. And I think somebody should go out and take a look at it. And that's it.
Where was it located, Jerry?
It's on the parking lot at the barracks.
That's on the north side.
It's on the north, no, it's on the east side.
Up by the church?
Well, the parking lot's by the church, but it's on the east side is where the tree is.
Okay.
And there's one tree there and that's 2/3 of it is dead. And there's other limbs that are falling off of it.
Delvin pointed that out to you when we were walking around. Okay.
So that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry. Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, I'm checking on my city application for the maintenance job.
We'll be discussing that here pretty soon. Okay, anybody else? Public
Yeah.
comments?
My address for my store is 111 Main Street. And if you want to know what a small creek or river looks like coming into your store, I have a video of it as it came off of the alley back to the back of my building into my door. And the person that was working that day was valiantly trying to get it to go down to the drain that I fortunately have in the back of my store from when it was a butcher shop. But it didn't help. It went all the way to the front of my store because it was coming in with such force. It was that one storm we had 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago now.
5.5 inches of rain in an hour.
Yeah, it was interesting. And some of that water, of course, was contributed by my building. I have a large gutter and the drain that goes out there, but it wasn't enough to stop the water that was coming out the other buildings. South of my building, I am down, well, Brett knows this, I'm downhill from some rather large buildings when their drains literally don't go, there's nowhere for it to go. And, I joked with, Mike about the fact that I was gonna dig a ditch, and he said, Dolly, you can't dig a ditch there because there's utilities there. And I said, well, I'm just talking about just enough to divert it away from my store. The people that have buildings along there do have some drains, but the drains come up to the road, it comes down the road, it comes into, and this time it diverted across the cafe space and into my space. And so that,
You're talking about in the alley, right?
yes, sir, the commercial alley that the city's responsible for.
Mhm.
And so I've talked to Mike about it. I just want you to be aware that I expect something to be done about that. And then I'm also going to very willing to do some things. I have done some things, but it's just not enough. And hopefully we don't have a lot of rains like that, but it seems like we are going to have rains like that for a while. And in the meantime, I'm very fortunate that I have a cement floor with little tiles on it, and we were able to push all that water out. I've already, and of course, because of rules and regulations from the state, everything's up off the floor anyway, so I did not lose any product. And I just had a lot of sandy stuff all over my
So
store.
you say you have a drain back there?
I have, yeah.
Is
Off
it,
of what?
you said you had a drain back behind your store, did you not?
My drain that comes off of my building is what I was talking about.
Oh, not a drain in the road. Okay,
Yeah.
a downspout. Okay, all right, okay.
And for a while, it used to be when the dump truck would come back there, it would make a big rut, but we put a big hump for my dumpster to sit on, and so that allows the truck not to do that anymore. But there still needs to be a little bit more effort to divert some of the water that's coming off of those large buildings south of me to go somewhere else besides right next to the buildings and down to the cafe area and over into mine. And that's not the only thing I have to would like to, that's the water thing. In your bulletin that the little information note that you passed out with the bills this time, you said that we received $43,000 worth of grant money. Is that for the studies and stuff that were being done, or did that go to anything?
That was over $42,000 that was not given to the city, but if the city had to pay for those assessments, that's what it would have cost us.
So that was for the individual buildings?
That's for all 12 assessments that was done.
Mhm. Okay. All right, so we've got some things coming up, like a rodeo and festival. Main Street looks like a shadow of itself. As a matter of fact, Main Street looks like the silhouette of Main Street is the best thing Main Street had. Our sidewalks look like crap.
Well, Dolly,
What?
there's not a whole lot we can do about that
Why not?
because I can't just snap my fingers and it just
So,
magically appears that everything's nice and pretty.
well, then the city should not have committed to working on the sidewalks for the different, because it's our
Then the previous administration should not have approved a 1% sales tax for sidewalk repairs.
Let me finish. We are responsible, we, the owners of the buildings, are responsible for the sidewalks in front of our buildings. The city should not have said that they would fix those sidewalks. They should have put it back. That burden needs to come back on the people that have those commercial buildings. And that's what I'm saying. We should go back to what I had to do when I bought that building and what I continue to do as far as keeping up my sidewalk. I'm gonna have to have some work done on it probably in the next few years. Everybody that owns a commercial building on Main Street should take care of their own sidewalk.
Well, thank you for your input, Dolly.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else
I
you want
don't
to say?
think that it should fall back on the city to do it.
Well, the city made a commitment a few years ago to have a city sales tax, and sidewalks was one of the issues. And
But you took that money and
the
used
city
it for something
committed,
else.
the city committed to do the sidewalks to include the downtown area. And that's what we're gonna do. Now, the next mayor may decide to override that and not do that. That's up to that person when they come in. But I'm sorry that you paid money. How many years ago was that?
I don't
15?
Hold on.
12?
Can we rewind?
Kim
I don't
was
think we've
appropriate.
committed to doing Main Street. Have we committed to doing Main Street? And I just wasn't there. Okay. We haven't committed to doing Main Street, just to clarify that.
Okay, then why don't we enforce our ordinances? We have ordinances on the
What,
building.
Dolly, I'm not gonna get into this with you.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long meeting.
It's gonna be a long meeting. Besides that, the previous administration never followed the ordinances anyway, so how can you expect me to do that at the snap of a
Yes, we
finger?
did.
And like I
We
said,
started to.
I'm not getting into that with you. I'm gonna stop right there. Does anybody else have anything they want to say? Your 5 minutes is up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
tried
think-
I tried to get on the agenda, and you and Brett and got together with Mr. Luckman. Yeah, up here and took me off the agenda. Yeah, you did. They called you and asked if there's any way they could take me, because I asked to be on the agenda.
For tonight.
No, a couple of months ago.
Okay, well,
And I was
we're-
taken off of that agenda because you guys, I don't know why I was, because when I came here, my name wasn't there. I had a copy of the agenda on my phone, and then when I came to the meeting Monday, it wasn't on the agenda. And yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I don't recall it. I'm gonna put it that way.
Yeah,
And you do recall that we spent 23 years trying to get a ditch to get water converted away from my house too,
Okay.
and you did nothing
Maybe
about
let's
that. So
move-
let's move on. Let's
on.
move on. Let's move on. Okay, one more time. Anybody else have any public comments they want to make? All right, department reports. Is Joel Bryan here tonight? Joel, come on in. You want to give us an update on what's going on at your place?
Well, I got the stuff out of the back, yard, moved out of the backyard like you asked prior. The tenant stuff is out of the side yard. It's now stacked up on my porch, until I can get up to get the roof done. The stove is still on my front porch, and the countertop is still on my front porch because I'm not ready to put them in the house yet. And as of that, I think that was pretty much it.
I did come by to see you last week on Friday.
Yeah, my son said you'd stop by.
Okay. Okay, has anybody else been up to this property?
I haven't had a chance recently.
Okay, I'm seeing a little bit of improvement. It's coming along, but it's slow.
Yeah.
Slow moving. So the council needs to, you want to look at it in 30 more days? There's still a lot that needs to be done up there, Joel.
I'll move to give him 30 more days.
I'll second.
Okay, motion to give Joel 30 more days.
Then I guess we need to get together then, and you can point out to me these things that,
Sure.
okay.
Well, in 30 days, I mean, our next meeting, either September 11th, which is not quite 30 days, or September 25th, which
September 25th.
extend to September 25th.
Okay.
I still second.
Okay.
Joel, we do have a new public officer. He's right here. So that's who you'll be dealing with.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, resign.
Okay. No problem.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to extend the follow-up on Joel Bryan's property to September 25th by Brett, seconded by Tim. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Okay, Joel, and I'll be up to see you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get off at 4. I usually get home about by 4:30. So if you come up to see me, I'd say after 4:30 would be the best time to catch me.
All right, we'll do that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Deb Pond. Deb Pond here tonight.
I made it.
All right, good deal. So Deb, what's going on at your place?
Well, things got a little behind. Some of it got a little ahead of me. I fell and tore the meniscus in my knee. Then I started doing some passing out, so they think I might have had a couple heart attacks. So I've been told to take it easy, and I couldn't get out in that heat. But I did get out in the rain the other day and get my tall weeds cut down, and some of the stuff moved that was there by the front. It's just been slow the last couple months because of the heat and my medical problems.
Do you have anybody that can help you get that property taken care of?
Well, I thought my daughter was gonna come down this Sunday, but it rained, so she didn't want to drive all the way from Woodbine. So hopefully it's next weekend.
Um,
I am having surgery. I'm having a pacemaker put in
23rd.
23rd, I had to think. The 23rd, and I'm not going to be able to do a whole lot. I'm not going to be able to use my left arm at all. But I'm going to try to get as much of it done before next week. I think it's next week, isn't it?
Week from Wednesday, if you're talking August.
Yes, August. Yeah.
Deb, when was the last time that you were in here to talk about this issue? Been a couple months, is that
It
right?
has.
And you recall the one thing that I pointed out that needs to be taken care of immediately?
I did. I took the front of it down.
The pallet shed is gone.
Well, it's not completely gone. The back half of it where the mowers are at right now is still there.
That was the thing that needed to go first and foremost. And when I drive by, I still see a building made out of pallets.
Well, it's mostly a fence there. It's just a partial. It's like 3 pallets and then a thing. I needed something to cover up the mowers with. And the back half of it's going to stay there because it keeps my dogs in the pen when somebody doesn't come turn them loose.
They're a pretty loud group, aren't they?
Yes. Do you know anybody who wants any puppies?
How old are those puppies, can I ask?
They are 11 and a half weeks.
Adorable.
How many do you have, can I ask?
10.
You have 10 puppies?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've had 4 people tell me they were going to come get them, but they ain't. And if they don't come this month, they're going to town to the guy that sells Huskies. I can't afford to feed them.
That would get pretty expensive, I would think. Okay, council, what's your decision?
Take that building down this week. Is it okay if I leave the back row that's kind of a fence type deal to keep the dogs in? It has to be too high.
Somebody else speak.
Todd, if no motion's made, what's the ramifications of this case?
I'll move to give her more time. That seems to be, as long as people are coming in and keeping us informed of what they're doing, we've been
Making
extending.
progress.
And
I'm sorry for interrupting you.
The 25th. Talking about extending the 25th.
Yeah, who owns that property that, where the weeds are on your fence line on the other side?
Was Barry, is that his name?
Ken?
Ken? I don't know what his name is for sure. I just talked to him. I can't remember names.
Ken there.
Yeah. And I bought some weed killer today and I'm going to spray them too. So.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Brett. What was the date, Brett? Give her more time to win.
the same date that we gave Joel, the 25th. Was that the 25th?
Yeah. September 25th.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to rehear the Deb Ponton blighted property case on September 25th by Brett, seconded by Annie. Any further discussion? Those in favor? 25th of
Deb,
September.
this is our new public officer right here, Clayton. So you're going to be working with him. So.
Okay. Would you stop by the house sometime?
Absolutely.
I don't even want to tell you.
Check the
Okay.
store and then check the house.
Check the store, check my doctor's appointments. I've been going into the doctor 2 days a week
No problem.
for tests, so.
Next up on
And he
the,
should be able to tell you exactly what to
Right.
clean up by the ordinance, how it reads or whatever, so.
next up on the agenda is Donald
Thanks.
Rush application.
Should all have a copy in your packet. He's just wanting to square up the building by adding a 14 by 14 foot triangle. Not to his house, to the
Shop.
business there.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the building permit by Don Rush by Tim, seconded by Annie. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. At this time, I'd like to announce Kelly Heisong as our new city clerk.
You need to
Oh,
recommend
wait a minute. I'd like to announce that I would like to recommend Kelly Heisong to be our next
I move to
City
accept the
clerk.
appointment.
I second.
at the rate of $17.50 an hour.
I move to accept the appointment.
Motion made to approve by Tim, seconded by Brett. Those in favor? Kelly, you can join us at the table anytime now. I thought you would have at the beginning.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. You should all have in your packet a estimate for the alley repair on Main. I don't know what the address would be exactly, but it's the one that goes in behind the new building that's going up on Main Street. The alley is off of 3rd Street.
It's the exit that he was.
It's the exit. If anybody hasn't been across that thing,
Isn't that Jay?
it's very difficult to go up and down without going more than 1 or 2 miles an hour to get through that. So they want to
Yeah.
rip it apart
I have
and
them all the time. I think that's right.
and smooth it out so the vehicles can get in and out of it. And this is what the estimate was by Circle J Construction. And I believe that we possibly discussed splitting the cost of that with him, did we not?
He gave all options. He put everything on the table there. Us pay for it, him pay for it, both of us split.
Was he here last meeting then?
I'm sorry.
Was he here last meeting? or-
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
okay. I don't know.
He requested that either he pay for it with our permission to let him do it, we pay for it, or we share the bill in whichever way we wanted to draw the line down the middle of it. Whatever the case may be, he wants it fixed so he can drive the truck down that.
Seems silly to have the building otherwise. I mean, I'm certainly fine with the permission.
As he
I'm
pointed out,
open to meeting him in the middle too.
it was there when before he put the building, it was that way. However, we do get a healthy chunk of taxes out of that building being in
Yeah,
our town. He also pointed out one specific deal that is really gonna bring in a lot of money for us later on this year. So
I think that's
that's the carrot he was waving in front of our nose, if you will.
all right.
So what do you guys like me to do? Want me to have him come down and we negotiate that? Would you like me to negotiate with him? Go 50-50 on it? Some direction, please.
I think that we're just gonna waste everybody's time if we haggle back and forth, and I think in the end, we're probably going to just simply settle with going 50-50. That's my guess. What do you guys think?
Go through that.
It's fine.
I move to split the bill with him,
To his offered speak.
to offer, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Do we
So
need a
that's like
motion for
500
that?
for us and the rest of them.
All right, we have a motion to make the offer to split the bill 50% by Tim, seconded by Justin. Any further discussion?
You need to put the price in there, for what that would be.
This is,
He's got
ours is
23.
2300.
half of that, so 1150.
1150.00.
All in favor? Okay.
Briefly, while we're on the alley, did you talk to Nick? You said, Tim?
I
about the
sent him
alley?
messages again tonight. He's shifted, now he works nights. So I did tell him that you were interested in talking to him about it, and he responded, he's interested in talking to you about it as well. And that's as far as we've gotten with the conversation.
Okay.
He did say, I'm for hire. So there you go.
All right.
Okay, at this time, we're gonna have the marketing study folks, talk to us and present with us their findings. I don't think Jana showed up, did she?
Yeah, she's here.
Yeah,
She's
oh,
nice.
okay, all right. Hi.
Hi.
Don't blame you. Okay. Everybody knows Jana. I don't think everybody knows the other folks. Do you want to introduce them, or do you want to lead the pack and what's going on and go from there?
Sure. Well, Megan Tebby's here from Atlas, and she completed the market study, which is provided by KSU TAB, and Maggie is here from KSU TAB as well. And we want to thank you for letting us postpone it till this evening. It was really helpful. So, without further ado, I'll just hand it over to Megan, and we can get an update later.
Awesome. I will reiterate Jana's thank you to you all for pushing this, since I'm the reason we had to push it. So, but I'm very happy to be here today. My husband even joined me, which he must not be in here now, but
He's hiding.
he
You went to get
we
a beer.
came from he did say we have to stop on the Echo liquor store that we saw on the way here. So we came from Kansas City, but we grew up in Iowa, so we're happy to see the rural parts of Kansas whenever we get a chance to. If you don't have a packet, please feel free to take one. It's just the slides that I was planning to present, but obviously this can be very conversational since we are all sitting at a table and we have our residents listening, and I will try to go through it as not as quickly but thoroughly as possible. And so again, I'm with Atlas Community Studios. We partnered with Jana and Eskridge through KSU TAB to help do the market analysis. So most of these slides are just providing an overview of what I kind of just described working with KSU TAB. We are a partner under their technical assistance to brownfields, which was how this study was funded. And so we were able to look at Eskridge as a market. We did not do any kind of community input or anything like that. This is just looking at data. And Maggie, correct me if I'm wrong, that KSU TAB might be doing that later this year of any kind of input collaboration to kind of pair those together, because obviously the input portion from the residents is just as important as the quantitative data. So the purpose of this study is really to provide a high-level overview and understanding of the economic and social environment, identifying current assets and potential gaps, and then compiling that into one long data-intensive report. As Terry mentioned at the beginning, it's about 90 pages, which I don't expect all of you to read word for word, but mostly that's just, providing all of the intense data, population, things like that I'll get into. So really, we just want this report to help you all as local leaders understand where Eskridge currently stands in terms of data and the opportunities and where it can go. So as I mentioned, it's a quantitative report. The research and data collection slide just kind of identifies some of the sources that we use. Many of them are public, so you will be able to see which are accessible, whether you want to update it in the years to come. A few of them are proprietary, which we use to be able to pull some of that additional insightful data and also allow us to compare across geographies more easily, because that comparison geography slide shows the three regions that we looked at for this report. So obviously Eskridge, and then comparing it to Wabunsee County, the state of Kansas, and then the US. And then specifically for this report, we created a custom region, which is called the labor shed area. And so that was determined by the commute time of Eskridge residents and where they are possibly traveling for work. So that resulted in in a 35-mile radius. And then the map here you can see is where it touches each zip code. So, like I said, I want to spend a majority of the time presenting and discussing the recommendations, which is more exciting than all of the analysis that we did. So I'll just go over quickly each of kind of what's included in the market analysis, just to provide some context. So the first section is called the market assessment, which just analyzes historical trends, forecasting projections for Eskridge, demographic, economic, socioeconomic data, and then comparing all of those to the geographies that I mentioned. The competitive analysis section identifies the competitiveness of Eskridge and Wabunsee County by identifying key strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, otherwise known as a SWOT. And also looking at Eskridge's competitive advantages by looking at location quotients or LQs for key economic indicators such as employment, average annual wages, and looking at those by industry sector. The labor market analysis looks at the in-demand skills needed by regional industry for current and projected job openings. And assesses the local labor market, the labor shed area to determine the availability, skills, and qualifications of the workforce. So this really helps identify the gaps between the workforce's current skills and qualifications and compares them to the needs of the key industry sectors that are here in Eskridge and in the county. The business climate section analyzes the local business climate and looking at different regulations and taxes, as well as programs and incentives that Kansas has to offer. Kansas is a pretty great state in terms of offering a lot of support through state programs to existing and prospective businesses. And this section also evaluated the attractiveness for business investment and expansion and relocation for the growing industries in Eskridge and the surrounding area. And lastly, this infrastructure section obviously looks at existing infrastructure and resources in Eskridge, including utilities, transportation, broadband, public services, all the things, as we heard today for some of the infrastructure. So it just identifies potential constraints and opportunities related to those that may impact economic development in Eskridge specifically. So we included a SWOT that we did. And again, this is only to incorporate the quantitative pieces that we were able to find and does not include any of your input, which is very key to adding to the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. As you can see, there's a list on both pages of all of those. So I won't go into too much detail, as I'm sure many of you are very aware of these. But obviously it's very crucial to lay these out in terms of looking at what recommendations would then fit. So the meat that we're going to talk about today, and hopefully where more discussion can happen, are the strategic opportunity areas. And so based on the key findings and insights, this section really highlights the existing priorities that were included in the 2019 comp plan that you guys did for Wabunsee County. And then we recommend 4 different strategic opportunity areas for you all as local leaders to consider for current and future economic development efforts. So the first one is probably not surprising. Housing may come as no surprise considering the entire country, both rural and urban areas are facing significant housing challenges. But as we know, housing is critical to sustaining and eventually growing your community as well. So if there's not appropriate or affordable housing, people can't come, no matter how many jobs companies bring. And you need housing to be able to create community for people, they need a place to live. And so during this data collection process, we identified some very critical information related to housing in Eskridge. First, nearly 2/3 of Eskridge residents are homeowners, and about 1/3 of them rent. And of those renters, over half of them are cost burdened, which means they're spending more than 30% of their income on housing. As you probably all know, the Eskridge has a very aging housing stock. More than half of the homes here were built before 1939. And this might be new, but there is a significantly high vacancy rate, around 21%. And so both of those are very much likely contributing to the decreasing number of appropriate and affordable housing. One thing I want to note too is the data doesn't necessarily list one specific reason why they are vacant, but the census, when they divvy this up, there are 7 different categories that they can put on a vacancy status. So whether it's for sale or for rent, it can even go into if it's sold but the people haven't moved in yet, things like that. So the one thing I did want to highlight for Eskridge was that a majority of the vacant homes that had a category as other is where kind of the crucial area or challenge can be, because that includes things like foreclosure, blight, where it needs repaired, they might be abandoned, condemned, etc. So that's really the indicator of pre-blight, if not blighted already. And so we can make the assumption that that's why there is a higher vacancy rate, because properties maybe were not maintained over the years, and now they need either significant renovations or they need to be raised. So that was where we want to make the recommendation of just looking at that housing stock to really figure out what that looks like. Are they homes that can be saved? Are they homes that need to be torn down? And figuring out if there are opportunities for rehabilitation. I know there's some opportunities through the state of Kansas that offer funds for that, or looking at tearing them down and potential infill opportunities. So that is just a way or a beginning step to not only getting rid of homes that are probably unsightly in the community, but it can also increase the housing stock if you are replacing them with updated homes or homes that people can actually live in. Secondly, we also know that this was mentioned as an opportunity in the comp plan, but I've talked to a couple of people about the old school building, and that is a great opportunity for redevelopment. Obviously, that Eskridge is not alone in having old school buildings be left when schools close and then they become blighted. And so that is where it's an opportunity to offer multifamily housing, which we saw that there's very little of here. And from what I mentioned earlier, if you have a lot of renters, those renters most likely are in homes. And so if there's opportunity to allow them a different option in a apartment unit of some sort rather than a single family home, that can open up the market a little more to be able to update those homes and allow them to be either purchased or updated as well. So we really recommend looking at the opportunity to redevelop the school into multifamily. The other option could be, since a lot of renters are cost burdened, even looking at affordable housing units. There are options to where you could offer, an 80-20 split. It doesn't necessarily have to be all housing unit or all affordable housing, but that would be something we would recommend looking at, since that was a pretty significant gap that we noticed.
How does that work when the city, say the city goes and gets a grant to rehabilitate the school like that? And I guess my personal opinion is the city shouldn't necessarily be a landlord and hold that long term.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to transition that to a private entity, is that all part of the grant, the whole mechanism of one step to the other? The city applies for the funds, but on someone's behalf, or how does that
So it depends on what kind of grants you're going after, but what you're describing, there are plenty of cities out there that have acted as kind of the land bank in a sense, but they don't intend to hold it long term, which I would agree with because all of you are, you don't want to accumulate a ton of properties and then be on the hook for maintaining all of them. That's something where, not to sign Jana up, but the Flint Hills Regional Council and Economic Development Organization can step in and be kind of that mediator of if it's condemned or something like that to the city, you could then donate it or sell it for $1 to a private entity like a nonprofit that would hold it and then be able to actually apply for the grant funds, because sometimes nonprofits are more competitive than municipalities to be able to go after those, but there are a lot of options in terms of obtaining that property and being able to redevelop it. Brownfields is another option, which I would definitely recommend because there's a lot of federal dollars for things like that. And so Maggie and Jana, TAB, that is what we're here to kind of help figure things like that out.
Okay. Next.
Yeah. Moving on to the recreation and entertainment section, the data told us that Eskridge residents spend a lot of their disposable income on recreational and entertainment activities, averaging about $2,600 a year. And so these things include, things like boats, trailers, campers, RVs, hunting, things like that, water sports. COVID also taught us that the outdoors is not just for people in rural areas. We learned that a lot of people from the cities want to get away and seek experiences out in rural communities to get away from the hustle and bustle. And so that's a trend that happened and is continuing to happen. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Humboldt, Kansas. They're about 2 hours south of here, but they were a community that really went in on providing a experience for anyone, not just people coming from the city necessarily, but they put in little Airbnb, tiny home Airbnbs, which I love tiny homes personally because you don't want to live in one necessarily, but it's cool to experience one for a weekend. And so they have it around a pond that's connected to a trail system, and they have been booked up all summer just from people coming all over. And so being able to tap into people from Kansas City, Topeka, Lawrence, your guys' location is a really prime opportunity to develop something like that. And obviously, it just so happens that you have a lake down the road. And so that is a great opportunity to be able to start developing a project like that or an idea like that, because you already have such an asset that not many communities have. So leveraging that and to encourage, any ancillary spending and creating downstream business opportunities through the increased usage of the lake could be really beneficial to Eskridge. In addition to promoting, free of charge public swimming, wading areas for people and dogs. I know that's a really big thing, is letting their dog, having space for their dogs to go to the beach, but also having more scalable recreation activities outside of that. Fishing tournaments. I know you guys have some festivals already that I've seen online, but business opportunities for rentals, kayaks, any kind of watercraft, and restaurant or just experience-based activities and amenities. So Lake Wabunsee is really a great asset for you guys to be able to cater to that already existing demand for recreation and entertainment. And you guys can look at really how to increase that and maybe encourage people to go to that more, not just from the region, the local region, but the larger region as well. In addition to recreation and entertainment, Eskridge residents also like to spend money at restaurants and eating out, averaging about $2,500 a year on food away from home, so going to restaurants, takeout, things like that. And so this really demonstrates the market support for the city's existing restaurants and any additions of other locally owned restaurants. In tandem with the leakage of recreation and entertainment, it really allows you to calculate a strategy to go or to focus on, adding people or creating entertainment opportunities to go to Lake Wabunsee, and then also developing, small businesses and restaurants that are probably needed here as well, to complement both of those needs and both of those demands that are appearing in the data itself. So I know through obviously the work that Jana is doing and the downtown Main Street activities, going through phase 1s and 2s with brownfields, you guys are already taking steps to kind of looking at what those opportunities could be. And so that's really where the community input piece is really crucial, because then you can hear from residents of what kind of restaurants they want or what kind of activities they would really want. Obviously, all I mentioned, that might be assumed, but that might not. You can really come up with some cool ideas. We've worked with a lot of small towns, and there's been some really unique ideas that people come up with through hearings like this, and where residents just throw an idea out and people run with it, and then it becomes a really attractive thing and a really unique thing to the community. So that's really where that community input piece is really crucial to the small business development, because you obviously want to make sure what is going in your downtown storefronts aligns with what people want to see downtown. That is obviously also very critical to just strengthening the local economy and growing the potential for regional industry related businesses as well. Lastly, the industry and workforce development. Obviously, rural development efforts really require a regional approach. I feel like you already know that, especially working with Jana, but also really trying to partner with the county and any other regional entities to help attract the workforce and industry that you're really looking for. Especially with Eskridge being such a small community, you have to tap into those existing partners that can help you bolster the region as a whole, and make it much more attractive to those outside parties that might be looking. So this, as I mentioned, the study compared Eskridge, the county, and then the labor shed area to identify the existing strengths, gaps, and opportunities that might be leveraged. And as you can see here, we listed some of the regional strengths, which I'm probably are no surprise to you. But what we really wanted to do was look at those regional strengths and try to identify the intersectionality of those and how they can connect, and then provide some focal points to look at on how those can work together. So the last slide mentions, excuse me, agritourism, which according to the USDA is a form of commercial enterprise that links agricultural production and processing with tourism in order to attract visitors, onto a farm or ranch. I remember during COVID, I don't know if you guys ever heard of, I think this was near New York essentially, but people from the city were really looking to go visit farms because they had never seen cows and chickens. And I have a friend that came from New York and he had only seen a cow in Iowa for the first time. So it's, to us, that's very normal, obviously growing up in the Midwest. But it has grown in interest of even people from Kansas City who have only grown up there really wanting to visit a farm and pick, get eggs and farm fresh eggs and milk a cow, things like that. So not to say you have to do all of that, but that's something that has really grown with people wanting to get out of the city as well and just experience something different. Even though I grew up in a rural area, I didn't grow up on a farm, so I have never milked cows. So I would totally do that if that was an opportunity, as something fun. And so that just promotes also an understanding and appreciation of the farming culture and community, which allows, that connectivity between outsiders and visitors, and something that, is very important to Eskridge and Wabunsee County's economy. And so lastly, with the manufacturing too, was one of the industries that experienced a lot of growth across all three of the geographic areas, Eskridge, Wabunsee, and the labor shed area. And so this is something we just wanted to point out because I'm guessing many of you may have heard about Panasonic's electric vehicle battery plant that's going into DeSoto, which I know is not super close to here, but that is one of the biggest investments that Kansas has had. I believe it's about $4 billion of investment. And so that is going to be felt statewide. And so we wanted to recommend that you guys should really look at identifying different sites and potential sites, working alongside KSU and with Jana on specifically brownfield sites that could be part of that manufacturing, trail, I guess, and how that could connect to what are the needs of Panasonic that might not be met in that region specifically, but that you can tap into, because obviously that they're not going to be there for 4 or 5 more years, but that's going to be felt for many years to come. So looking at those opportunities where if you have sites in Eskridge or within the county too, that you could partner with and identify potential manufacturing sites that could connect to that. I can't think of the word I'm trying to say, but connect and play a part in that piece. So that's, yes, thank you. That's what I was like, I know this. And so that just provides opportunity for and feasibility of welcoming the small scale upstream of or downstream manufacturing businesses that could be in this community. With that, I will answer any questions that you all may have. And I'm happy to stay too after the meeting if you'd like to chat with me individually as well.
Well, I will say that the 90-page report was very informative. It was quite a read, and I can see a lot of exciting things that can happen for this area if we can just get together and do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it boils down to. I don't have any questions for you, Megan. Does anybody else?
I mean, how can we package that into a CDBG grant or something else? I guess what
I think the first thing would be
next step.
come up with an idea to do something and get with Jana,
Mm-hmm.
and she can guide us from there.
Yeah, obviously these are recommendations, and like I've been honing in on, the community really should drive this too. So what we want to do is you guys to be able to present this to the community in some way, or discuss it with the community, and then be able to fit it more to what Eskridge would really like to see. Obviously, I mean, 4 of these 4 recommendations are a lot of work. And so, you could do it all, but you can't do it all at once. And so maybe prioritizing which ones would speak to the community more and might be a higher priority is always a good idea too, because, capacity is always an issue. And so we want to be mindful of that. This was really just to show you what we saw within all of the data and what we see as opportunities for you guys down the road.
Well, I for one think you did a fantastic job, Megan, and
Thank
appreciate
you.
you and your crew coming out to talk with
Yeah.
us tonight.
Thank you. I'm glad you read all of it. I'll be honest, a lot of people, I get it, it's very intense. So thank you for doing that, because
It's either that or honeydews. And now you know where you stand.
yeah. If no one has questions, we ask too that if you do have any questions, or as you're reading through it, have any feedback or any minor changes, that you send it to us by next Friday, August 25th, which I believe is when you guys are meeting. Yeah, so that works out. So if you do have anything.
No, it's August 28th. I'm sorry.
August 28th is our next
That's
meeting.
okay. That's okay. If you, if we can push it to August 28th too, since that works out better. But if you have any feedback, please feel free to reach out to me personally. If you see anything that you need to change that's very minor, we are happy to do that, because we would like to incorporate any of your feedback, and then we'll also have KSU be reviewing it and signing off on it, so we can send you the finalized document by the end of the month if there are any changes.
Do you need that copy?
No, do you want it?
I would love to.
You can read all my notes.
Well, Well, there's a guy that's, he had his building assessed and he couldn't be here tonight. So
Oh,
this is the next.
yeah. I'm happy to chat with anybody too who would be interested. Maybe not giving them the whole spiel again because that might be boring, but definitely happy to connect with them. Jana and Terry both have my email and contact information. I don't have any business cards because I went to a conference last week, so I ran out. But they can send you any way to contact me. Awesome. Well, I will leave you guys to your
Thank you for
business
your-
then.
very good.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you. Thanks for letting me sit up here. I'm glad someone missed.
Part of the drama.
Right?
Well, I have your name and your
Yeah.
phone number. and-
Did you need to say, would you like to say something there?
Since we're lucky enough to have Maggie here, we'll spot and talk maybe about next steps.
Sure. Why not?
But I wasn't sure if
I
she
knew
was
somebody
the one.
was thinking that, so.
Yeah.
It's like, is this the conclusion
No,
or
not at
what's
all.
going on after?
Yeah.
There you
kind
go.
of excited,
And we record, so you might want to come up because it's hard to hear back there.
No, Michelle's not here, so she won't say.
Hi, yeah, I'm Maggie Badger. I'm the Associate Director for the KSU TAB program out of Manhattan, Kansas. And so, as Megan mentioned, the next steps for the TAB support that we'll be offering Eskridge is to do a community input visioning meeting session in early fall. We are pretty busy right now with conferences and some education workshops, so probably maybe September, October timeframe. And what that will look like is we'll put together like a meeting agenda and invite and really try to encourage community members here in Eskridge as well as maybe those folks that live outside to really present some of the information for the market study and really just try to generate thoughts and ideas for how they would like to use and see some of these buildings and other properties in Eskridge and the surrounding area revitalized. And then that will include, there's a report that comes as part of that also that'll include some renderings to actually conceptually start viewing and seeing, what maybe a vacant property could look like in the future. And then it'll also include, I don't know the exact timing for this, it'll be part of the community visioning report. And if not, it might come after the first of the year. Part of it will depend on scheduling a resources roadmap. And so it'll take, the information from the market study, the community input, and then say, okay, so here are some funding opportunities and some resources and some strategies for you to actually make all these ideas and thoughts come to fruition. And then that'll be provided to the city for you guys to use going forward.
So would you like to, for me to get with you on a date that we could set this meeting up for?
Yeah.
So, and you
Yeah,
said
so you can think
September
about
or
days.
October?
Yep. I would look at maybe late September through October.
Okay.
Some ideas. You guys know your community residents and folks the best. We typically encourage like an evening meeting, or sometimes we've done it where there's two maybe separate meetings if some people are available during the day, or a later afternoon. We can hold a couple different sessions if needed. I don't know how people feel about surveys.
How much time do you think you need for each session?
Typically we do these in a couple hours, hour and a half to 2 hours. If people are welcome to filling out a survey, we sometimes will do an online community input survey. We keep it very kind of brief and basic, but just to get some of those initial thoughts and ideas out there for the community to start thinking about. And so then when we're doing the in-person, because the in-person event will be very interactive with the community. Like they will be generating some of their own ideas. There'll be exercises for them to participate in. It won't be us just talking to them. They will actually be engaged and encouraged to actively participate.
Very good.
Thank you. Yeah.
And do you have a business card?
Name said conference. It was the National Brown Festival.
Which one of you got delayed by the airplane?
Oh, that was.
Oh, yes, that was, yeah.
Yeah.
couple weeks ago.
But I have, I think, your email. I was copied on the most recent. I can send you my
Yes,
contact
okay.
information.
That'd be
and
great. That'd be great.
go
Thank
from
you.
there. Yeah,
And I can
absolutely.
share it with anybody that needs it here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for
No problem.
letting me put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Thank you. Safe travels.
Thanks. I'll be
Everybody.
right. Oh, okay. Yeah. I just wanted to give a quick update on, so we were here with Stantec was here, and we went through with all of the property owners, their phase one's results. And out of that, we came up with 3 properties that want to do phase 2 sampling analysis and 3 structural studies. We also added another property at 203 Main, so they're getting their phase 1 right now. That should be done very quickly. And then we still have the other 2 that are going through KDHE, and I need to check the status on those.
I just got the folder or the binder
Oh,
last week. So
The phase 1?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So you know? Okay, I won't ask you that.
Now, they didn't have to go to phase 2, but did they say why they didn't want to continue?
The people that didn't?
Mhm.
Maybe
No concerns? What was,
some of them might be demolishing, they just didn't, or, they already knew it, they
yeah, okay.
just didn't
You know,
need it.
from the Esquires Lumber Company, we decided not to go on to phase 2 because it was recommended that we not do it unless we were expecting to sell the properties.
Okay,
That we might find something that would have to be reported to the state and which might.
stop the
So
sale.
unless we wanted to sell the properties, it was better that we just stop at this point.
Okay, that's fair enough. And some of the others may have had the same. Okay,
So, and again, it's their choice,
Sure,
not pushing
sure.
on anybody.
right.
But
right.
I would say too that the 3 that are getting that phase 2 sampling analysis are also getting structural studies, which I am applying to EPA for those. So,
Okay,
and again, things are moving slowly.
well, yeah,
So, be
talking
patient.
about the government.
But I will just keep updating you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
thanks, John.
Okay,
I'll move to approve the CMB permit for the SPG reading rodeo.
Second,
Third.
third, fourth, fifth.
whoever seconded it.
Well,
first.
Tim and Amy. Tim did it. Okay. You
Motion- motion.
choose, Lisa. I don't.
Yeah.
Well, I will never be offended if you just. No, it's up to Terry to.
Motion by Brett to approve the CMB permit for the Esquires Labor Day Rodeo, seconded by
Tim.
By Tim. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Passes. Okay, dock remodel at 138 Cedar Circle.
I'm going blind. Apparently. It's
Pardon me, what? They what? Somebody,
They are in attendance, yeah.
You know, I was gonna read.
that is next on the agenda, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
I do think my eyesight is going at this point.
Now we're looking at,
Make you feel any better?
Oh,
Amber, 130.
yeah, fine, got it.
So they have 2 docks.
They have 3 docks.
They have 3 docks.
I'm Stephen Chambers. I'm the property owner at 138. My wife Sam back here. Thanks for having us on the agenda today. What we're looking at doing is just a rebuild of an existing dock in our cove right now. It's standard size 20 by 24 dock. It's got about a third of it that's cut out as a small slip, which we don't use. And so basically I'm just proposing covering that with decking. So the footprint would stay exactly the same. It'll still be 20 by 24. Just won't have a third of it cut out in the middle. It's a little tight when we have friends and family over. It's just the 2 of us. We're fine there. We figured we don't use that little slip area, so we just wanted to redo. It'll keep the same footprint, and it's a standard size dock there in the cove. And that's what the permit is for. So with your permission to do that, Eric Stevie is the builder, and he's built quite a few docks out there at the lake since Bill Bill stopped doing them, and he's kind of the guy that everybody turns to. So he's the one who stopped and gave the proposal and drew up the plans for us. So.
Robin, did you go out to the property?
I did, actually. I have some copies of this. Yeah, the 2 other docks
Yeah, those are on.
in rough shape.
Yeah, and those are, so I've talked to Mr. Stevie about that as well, and quite frankly, we're just getting late enough in the season, so the plan is to get them all addressed. When we were building our new home, so I've been a property owner there for about a little over 20 years. I think I bought my property in about 2002. And we were weekenders for a long time. We've lived there full-time for the last 5 years. It's our full-time residence, it's where we live. When we were building our home, one of the docks got hit in the middle of the night by somebody who probably had a few too many bush lights. And damaged it. And I'll be honest with you, our focus was on getting the home completed. It's a lot of things when you're building a new house, and repairing the docks just wasn't at the top of the list. So I will readily admit that those two front docks are in disrepair. The plan is to bring those back board for board and get them repaired, but we're late enough in the season. Mr. Seavey doesn't feel like he can get that addressed this year. So I would like to be back in front of you guys again next spring with some proposals to get those taken care of. And in keeping with I think the precedent of coming back board for board that we can maintain, because again, we've had those three docks since I've owned that property for 20 years. We've not made any changes. The one that can get addressed this fall is our one in the cove, and that's the one we use the most. The other two I would like to bring back up to snuff. We'll make sure that they're safe for the winter, of course. There's no loose material or anything of that nature, but he just can't get to them this season yet before the weather turns on us. So I would like to get those addressed in the springtime.
Okay. Now, I'm actually, I don't know because I don't have, but is that located on your property?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That would be my other only question there.
Yeah, we're repainting it, resurfacing it so it matches the house. It'll look nice. That's been there on the property the whole time we're doing as well.
I didn't, yeah, I don't know where the property is.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's ours.
all righty.
20 by 24.
So you currently pay for the shed too?
Yes. Well,
On your property.
yeah, I mean,
You
it's,
don't,
yeah, it's right. It's on our property. It's not
Yeah.
part of the dock. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's just a,
They pay for.
just a storage building,
deck
it's our
and
garden shed.
Three
Yeah.
docks.
We paid for oversized in our deck and paid the fees on all three the whole time.
I've got to ask you, I'm looking at this picture. Is that a diving board I'm seeing on the deck?
The dock we're talking about redoing?
It is, that's when you're talking about. redoing the
Yes,
front
yes,
page?
on the front page. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
And is the diving board going to stay there?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
we're going to replace
what's the
that.
size of the deck with the diving board? Is it
It's-
within the 24?
No, that would make an oversized dock.
I didn't think
It
diving boards were ever part of
extends like
the-
7 foot over. Yeah.
I don't think that's been included in the measurements.
It is.
before.
I forget what name of the people that we were. We had them install a retractable one that they could put out and pull up. It was
Yeah, they're cool.
I want to address it now, so it's not an issue later.
Right.
Go on, Brett.
Well, diving board's been there for 20 years, so.
I know.
right. We hired a public officer to be going around and taking care of the problems that have been existing for 20 years or longer to try to clean things up. So.
Okay. Well, it's got
since you put in an
reflective tape on it.
application, You are now subject to.
Very good. Yeah, it's got reflective tape on it, so it's not a hazard. It's in a no wake zone in the cove. So it's no wake area there. So I don't see it as necessarily being a hazard to anyone, but I guess that's your all's discretion on how that gets handled.
I think it's stupid to count the footprint. That's just me.
You knew there was debate about it.
Yeah, we
No.
had a
Yeah, sure. A little bit.
previous conversation for sure.
The problem is that we allow a 20 by 24 footprint for a menagerie of reasons, safety for stuff out, being able to pull in, other people being able to get by their docks. So when you exceed that amount, obviously there's other people that feel strongly that you're exceeding the amount of space that you can have. And as it sits, that's been our stance, because like I said, we just made somebody do that with the diving board, make it retractable so that it doesn't exceed permanently when they're not in use. It folds back up and it doesn't exceed the 20 by 24.
Just like that jet ski lift or whatever it was,
Correct.
same scenario.
Yeah, where it's a low speed area, I really don't see the harm in it.
Well, the other one too, if you recall,
So be it, but
it had the foldable diving board was in an area where there wasn't much room from the diving board to the dock on the other side of
You
the
could
boat.
almost jump to the
That's
next
true.
dock.
yeah, that's, I mean,
They were a lot closer in than what these appear to be.
However you slice it, it's picking and choosing, and I'm not putting my hat into be. So how do we go about this? This is a very unique situation. I mean, he's a very lucky person to have 3 docks. People would love to have 2 docks, and he has 3. So he's going to be doing maintenance to all 3. He kind of explained to him in your lawyer way of what he's able to and to not do.
I don't think it's any different just because it's 3 than it was 2. I mean, you understand that for every structure, or you have to have a livable structure for every dock you have. You can only have 1 dock per structure. Your grandfathered in apparently with 3. So.
And I don't know if in the past, so we have a deck that has stairs that goes down. If that's been considered one oversize, I'm not sure. Again, obviously that was there when we bought the property years ago, and I knew it would be an issue eventually when I came back for repairs, right? Because it just hasn't come up because I've not been in front of y'all before. And again, I understand the quandary that you're in and you're trying to make up for old times and do it properly going forward. So I don't know if that in the past, how that was considered. But in essence, it's kind of, as a dock, stairs come up to the deck, goes back down the other side to the dock on the other side. Technically it's 3 docks, but again, maybe that's how it was looked at in the past. I'm not sure. I do think that the precedent has been set to go back board for board on grandfathered in docks, and I guess that's.
Well, I think.
And if that doesn't need to be decided tonight, I'm understanding. Like I said, I can't make those repairs before the weather turns.
I just want you to know what
Sure.
you're getting into
Sure.
now and in the
No, I
future,
appreciate that,
so-
and I appreciate that.
You will never, at the current status, you'll never be able to improve on those docks.
Understood.
You will be replacing them only.
Correct.
And this body could, at its decision, force the removal of docks if it so chooses.
I suspect obviously you could. I guess that's a decision you all have to make.
I'll tell you my immediate concern is we seem to get ourselves in a pickle by making, we allow something based on a certain contingency, and that contingency sometimes comes through and sometimes does not. So the first thing that comes to my mind, and sir, I don't know you from anybody, so I don't know what's in your heart, what's in your mind on this. But what you could have planned is to get this dock to where you and the family, whoever, can play on it and do what you want. And then heck with those other docks. We have 1 good dock here. And then you don't address the other 2 that are dilapidated.
Yeah,
That's one thing that is a concern. Do I think you're going to do that? I don't have any idea. So I just wanted to present that could be and we can't sit here and tell you that you have to fix up your docks. I wish we could.
Well, I mean, I guess I would, I guess you'll just have to take that at face value. I'll come over and shake your hand and say that's what my plan is to do, and I guess that carries a little weight with me. I'm not going to leave a dilapidated dock. This is my home, right? And I have a lot of pride. I owned that property for 20 years. I'm not going to have it look like crap out there, right? They are falling apart. It's a haven for the geese. It needs to get fixed. I will readily admit that to y'all. It needs to get done. I just can't get it done before the weather turns. So I'm planning to come back in front of you. I understand that I have to come back board for board and that there's no improvements on those, but they'll be stable and safe, and they do stick out into the main lake, and there's nothing sticking off of those. They're actually smaller footprint than the 20 by 24. Both of those are smaller. And the plan is to just bring those back. Or if I do decide not to do them, then I'll have them completely removed so that they aren't a hazard, because somebody already hit them once before when they were kiting around in the middle of the dark and didn't ever stop to do anything for it. So, all I got at was their death fighter that shot off into my weeds. So I kept that as a memento. Yeah, I guess you're just gonna take that, Emma, word that, I'm planning to get those things addressed. They need to get done. They're gonna, they're just gonna fall in the water. You've been out there, ma'am.
Yes.
You've seen it. In fact, you and I visited out there, one day when you came out. I think we met and talked out there. And I actually walked her down and we walked and looked at them together. I'm not trying to hide anything from anybody. She came and I invited her to come down and we took a tour and looked at them all together. If I recall correctly, we got your tape measure out, we measured them and, all was good. So, this is our home and we want it to look nice and we want to take good care of it too. So that's important to us.
I think everybody's that way about their own property as well. But my only concern when I saw that was the diving board.
Well-
If we allow the diving board, then we have to allow it for everybody.
And that's a decision you all have to make going
Yeah.
forward, I guess.
And like the other couple or the other family, they've got a retractable diving board that they can.
Now, was
raise
that
up.
because of the change of footprint or because it encroached on the property next door?
No, because it exceeded the 20 by 24.
So I'm assuming then everybody comes in, that's gonna be the rule going forward.
Mhm.
I mean, you guys are setting precedent. That's not my choice. That's yours. And if that's the way it's gonna be, then that's what I've got to abide by. But I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna have a lot of people who are gonna come in and do that, right? You gotta be prepared.
Yeah, well,
Precedent's
yes,
a dangerous thing.
yes.
Just gotta
Yeah, you're right.
pick the rules you want and then you gotta live with them.
Can you tell me, is this is the dock you're changing
Yes.
and this is the second dock?
So, yeah, so the deck was, so this is the one that's gonna get repaired in the spring and this is the other one. So
Okay.
these are kind of semi-connected. This is the one we're looking for the permit to just fill in.
And
Yes,
this is the third one.
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
The uniqueness of this request, because you have 3 docks, is the reason we have just discussed this at length.
Sure. No, I understand completely.
With a board for board repair, I don't think that we have denied one yet when that's all that you're wishing to do. And with that, I move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the permit at 138 Cedar Circle by Tim and seconded by Brett. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Okay, approved.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And like I said, I'll come back and see you guys in the springtime. And if there's anything we need to do different with those others, just let me know. Okay, I'll play by the
Thank you
rules.
very much
We'll
for
make sure.
coming in. We
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
No, and I appreciate you guys working with us. So thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in.
Have a good evening.
Nice meeting you.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Gibbon Shoreline.
You should have got the response in the hearing setting. That had to change because of conflict with the defendant's counsel. So there's a new hearing now set for 16th of October at 2 p.m. I've got copies of that notice and my response if anybody wants what we've
I
read.
emailed.
Yeah, emailed this
I
was
forwarded
filled
it.
out, but I got a copy here if you want to see.
I'll take one.
Okay. Going to waste. So, unless you had any discussion about the subject, I was just gonna wait for the hearing.
I've got nothing else about that. Anybody? On the government? All right, next up, there's a request by Bridgman to be reimbursed for $156.08 for damage to a vehicle that went in a ditch immediately after that heavy rain 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Didn't go in a ditch.
Or went in, well, depends on what you want to call it.
Ditch in the middle of the road.
Well-
Yeah. It was the road was
Okay,
washed
yeah,
out. The road
gotcha.
was washed out and they went through it. Vehicle went down into it and damaged the vehicle.
Okay, well, is the person is claimant here?
No.
Okay. Well, I got, the mayor emailed me about the situation. Fact of the matter is that anybody who digs in the street itself has to file for a permit under city code section 13201. And that has to have a bond with it, and that basically covers any damage or cost they cause by digging into the street, excavating it, and has provisions in it for them blocking it off under 13204. So basically the city code says, if you in any way dig in the street, you have to come get a permit, do all that stuff.
He didn't dig it.
Huh?
He didn't put that culvert in.
I don't, no, I mean the landowner.
The landowner didn't put the culvert in.
I understand that. he hired somebody to dig into the road, as I understand it.
It's my understanding, we didn't do it.
There was a person who had a sewer connection problem. That's the contractor they hired to fix the sewer connection problem, dug into the street. Right?
Affirmative.
To my understanding, there's no record with the city of that person, that contractor or the owner ever obtaining a permit to dig under this code section. Right?
I think a verbal with Mike and the contractor.
Yeah.
Maybe,
verbal.
I don't know.
Because there were locates down there, utility locates down there for a couple days prior to them digging through the road and the washout of the rain. So I mean, Mike was
Mike being aware of it is not a permit.
Okay.
And
And
Mike doesn't have to educate them on getting a permit.
And he becomes aware of it because they notify DigSafe that there's
correct.
needs to be checked. So he would go out there and mark it
For gas.
and whatever, electric, gas, whatever.
But that's not a permit. So because that is necessary, my position is the city's not liable. The person who's liable is the contractor, probably secondarily the homeowner, but probably not. That's not my assessment to make, but the city is not liable. The claim should be rejected.
Is it wrong for us to pay Mr. Bridgman and then us go after the contractor for the reimbursement?
There's no economic way to do that. I mean, you can't assign, an injury action like this is not assignable in Kansas. Meaning he can't give us the right to sue the contractor. And it's $150.
Mhm.
It'll cost me more to file it than it will get it back.
That's kind of where I'm at, is just pay it and get it the hell over with, but that's,
Do we open the city up to future litigation for people who hit a pothole and get a blown out tire?
It's not, that's what I'm saying is that the responsibility, the tort responsibility for damaging that car is entirely on the contractor.
So can we reach out to the contractor and see what they have to say, or
If you want, I don't know why,
what?
like I said,
James can.
how we don't enter into it. Other than to say they were trespassing on city property by
When they
digging it,
dug, yeah.
by digging in it without approval. Now I suppose I could prosecute them for that separately. It has nothing to do with, and maybe ask for, some kind of, fine or cover damages for the car. But then again, that's cost to you guys that you're not going to get back.
So this was his vehicle? I didn't realize that it was his vehicle.
No,
It was
was
Deedee's.
It was
Deeding,
Stevie's. He just came in on her behalf.
because she was at work or something, I remember.
And just technical note, I don't know that the claim was submitted in accordance with 12105B.
How can we find out who this contractor is? Pass that. I
asked
feel
the
like we could at
homeowner.
least pass that information on to James.
He probably knows who the
I
contractor
thought he
was.
had talked to him actually, or was gonna. I can't remember now.
I don't know either.
Maybe
Right.
talk
You
to
couldn't
one
hear
of the
him.
locate people. So they know he's talking about.
Yeah, maybe.
I can talk to the owners of the property and get the information from of who the contractor was, and they can tell them they need to reach out to them.
Well, any assistance that you guys give, that's fine.
Who's the contractor?
It's gratuitous. The position of the city's got to be, in essence, no responsibility or liability.
Okay.
All right.
fair enough.
Okay, next on the agenda is the water and gas rate increase subject.
And I've got what our current rates and the last time those, which I think I shared the last time those rates were increased, but if you want that information and how you want to move forward with it, or
Water rate was increased 22 years ago, is that right?
2001,
Things were cheaper then.
and for the minimum, these are for inside city limits. There is a different rate if you reside outside the city limit, but $11 is the minimum, and it includes the first 1,000 gallons of water. And then it's $5 for every 1,000 over that. And if you reside outside city limits, it's $18.30 for the first 1,000, and then $7.90 for every 1,000 over that.
How many customers do you have in city? And how many customers are out of city?
And the 251 water in the city.
251, no, that was total.
Okay.
But your outside is like Duval, Rob Warren, Tim Weedow, Tammy Weedow. That might be about it.
Should
Because
be
I don't think
limited.
there's no,
Yeah.
there's no, nobody south. And like down towards Dolly and Joe's, that's all in the city limit. So there's very, very few outside the city limit.
$11 minimum
City.
plus 5.
Or outside the city was 1850 or 1830 and then
$7.90.
$7.90 each. Okay. So you said 251 total?
Do you know what one of the city maintenance guys' average pay was back in 2001
Oh,
or 2?
Back
And
in
then your gas-
2010, it was probably $11 when I started. So, I mean, extrapolate that. I mean, you're at least doubling it for, to account for.
Their pay has
Inflation
doubled, and yet
sensitive.
our water rate has stayed the same.
and the gas was
Getting
2007
squeezed.
and the minimum, and
The same
Your
downtown
gas-
is not improved.
Last raised in 2007.
yes. And it's a little more tricky with gas rates because almost 70% of your customers live outside or reside in the KCC's jurisdiction. They reside 3 miles outside of the city limit. And then, so $9.50 for just to have the meter, it's $9.50,
For who? City or outside?
everybody.
Everybody. Okay.
So how much for your meter?
Jurisdictionals is non-jurisdictional.
$9.50.
It's monthly minimum.
That's the minimum. I mean, and you don't get any usage with your
That's
gas
just
meter.
basically the
And
rent.
then the margin for the unit on per MCF is $2.61 above cost.
That's everybody.
Yes,
How much to what?
$2.61.
Taking the KCC approved rate and backing it into everything that's not KCC too, right?
We just, at the time when they did that, I think they've done it historically forever. It's just everybody was the same rate inside and outside KCC's jurisdiction.
Yeah, we always felt like we were treating people unfairly if we raised rates in this, where we weren't jurisdictional within our 3 miles of the city and
No problem with that.
then left everybody else alone. But by the same token, I mean, gosh, it's been since 2007 since we raised rates. You'd think the KCC wouldn't blink an eye hardly at a well thought out rate filing. I mean, I wouldn't see a whole lot of pushback from us trying to recover, something that's been stale for how many ever years that is, 16.
Mm-hmm.
But
So theoretically, we could charge the people more than 3 miles away, which is 70% of our customers, more than our own citizens, correct?
we can
Big
raise.
gas or-
We can raise within the city and in the 3 miles around it, but we can't touch the outside.
Without
Like Allen,
KCC's
Admire, Lake.
But we
Yeah,
can
with
ask Casey's approval,
Yeah.
and they could approve us,
And you back
and
in,
then we could.
do whatever within the 3 miles, yeah.
Am I right, Justin, when we go to KCC and we ask for a rate hike, shouldn't we provide them with a plan of what the monies are for?
I mean, O&M expense, I mean, clearly that's gone up. I mean, I would think, even if you didn't have a plan, so to speak, for the money, I mean, just say, hey, our people made $11 then and they make 20 now, and
You could make the
I
case
thought
of
the
burying the lines alone.
well, yeah,
That's-
I mean,
that's what I
public
thought.
safety, I mean, yeah, we could,
Yeah, you still got a big chunk that's
But then
on the
it-
top side.
What's the time process for that in KCC?
I have no idea. I've never done a rate case myself. I only work for folks who
Are you?
running, yeah, and running the opposite direction of KCC.
I mean, it does take time. There's,
it would make sense if they would let us do some kind of auto escalations, like from year to year, like, yes, they approve, like, say the jump is 25% on, year one, but then increase, 3% or 5% each year out to 10 years and then make some of that up. But,
Are we not making a profit with these businesses? Is
Well,
there a
I
need
mean-
for an increase? Do you anticipate something happening?
Well,
They were brought up, the water and gas increases was to cover employee raises.
And
I don't think there
benefits.
was any other talk about any project or anything. It was just to
Exactly.
cover employee raises.
And then the people that we
Yeah,
sell our
benefits.
gas and water to, do they share in the expense of our employees? I mean, we sell.
I mean, as
several-
ratepayers, yeah, I mean, but I guess I don't understand the
Well, I
question.
was just wondering, like, if we sell how many different entities on water, like rural water and lake.
Those are all in the contracts.
Is that in the
Yeah, those are
contracts?
separate agreements with each one of those
And
wholesale.
isn't their salaries figured into those rates?
Yeah, some of
only
it's-
one,
Oh, okay.
only one salary is.
Which one
figured-
is that?
The water plant operator.
That's what I remember. Thank you. That's it.
I believe in rural water 8, there's a percentage of the city clerk's salary that is figured in that as well. But the
There's a number of factors in each of them.
LWID and rural water 1 is this only salary, I believe. I haven't looked at the contracts for a while, but was the water plant operator.
Which makes sense because really that's the only pass through. They're distributing the water. You're basically just selling them wholesale at the point of diversion. So
And their rate changes annually based on expenses.
What's the first steps that we need to take towards figuring out how to perform a rate case?
Look at her.
I know you said you'd retire before we did that.
That's just, it's a lot of
Well, I mean-
work. I mean, there's just a lot of information that's exchanged and requested and
Does
Data
KMGA have any
requests.
kind
Yeah,
of
right.
consulting services or anything that we could lean on,
I don't know.
or even somebody that they
I mean,
use?
When we
Nurses
did this
might,
in
but-
07,
I know somebody
We
files
didn't
rate
reach
cases
out
for them
to
on a regular basis.
KMGA, and I don't know, KMU is another organization that we belong to as well. But, they Mike might know better, but it's just, the water, you guys can make that on
Right
your
here.
judgment call
Yeah.
on water. That's not jurisdictional.
And that has a process also. If I'm correct, we have to.
Water?
Yes, we have to post it and it goes into effect 30 days after it's published.
Well, I think that's everything we do, isn't it?
well, no,
No, it's not 30 days. I mean, it's an
I thought it was-
ordinance that,
Yeah.
no, it's not a charter ordinance. It's just an ordinance that's establishing rates and it goes into effect once it's been published.
Once it's been published, it
Yeah.
just has to be published.
It
not
just
30
has to be
days.
published. There's no 30-day.
Okay.
So then if we were to reach out to the KCC about raising the gas rates for further out, who would be drafting that letter and sending it? Would it be Kelly, Lisa?
I
I'm
can
just
look-
like,
Yeah, I can
let's
look back in
delegate
the,
that now so that the ball can be immediately rolling on that.
I'll have to look in the KCC file to the last one and see how that
Process work.
started. I don't know if it's, maybe Leslie knows.
She probably does. I might have asked her.
I'm, at a minimum, it's a letter. I don't know if it takes a motion from the council.
I
But
think at some point you're gonna have, I mean,
yeah,
at some point you're gonna have an actual submission to do, and that's
Yes.
what's approved.
yes.
At this preliminary stage, I don't see why they would.
She suggested Leslie, because Leslie works at Evergy, she works in the rates department. She
That's fine.
knows a lot of the commissioners on a first name basis.
Well, and I think Mike worked real closely with one of, I can't come up with his name, but anyway, when, for this gas recovery that we're recouping from Siri or Erie, what was Uri?
Yeah.
And so Mike's familiar with one of the commissioners that helped get that rate established. So,
That was kind of like a fast track rate case.
yeah.
I think something we had to approve, I remember, but
It was
yeah.
very special.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So she'll look into that for the KCC information for the increase in gas rates. Now, for the water rates. 22 years.
Well, and I was I don't know if any of you went to the krwa.net website.
I tried and it was a bad
But,
time.
I mean, they will do, I think there's a slight fee, but they will do a rate case study and make recommendation of what your rates should be based on historical data. But I do think there is a small fee for that. I didn't get into all the
The good thing
details of
about that
that.
is it's bulletproof, man.
Yeah,
If you have,
got something to fall back on.
yeah, just picking the number out of hat is arbitrary. It's not
Yeah.
a good idea.
But I
Right.
believe KRWA will do a rate
Some
study
extra
for
fees
you.
on it. Yeah.
You're either gonna get them to do it and pay them that, or everybody's gonna sit around the table and.
I'm a big fan of
Yeah.
paying them to, that's,
I do want to know how small is a small fee, but that's,
Well, and
I mean, if it's like $100, yeah, sure. I mean, for-
I don't know.
I don't know.
I
They're
mean, like I
usually
said,
upfront
up in,
about that.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm a big fan of that idea.
How much longer are the contracts for the water districts?
For the districts, they're 4-year contracts, but they are adjusted yearly.
but
You have to,
Rural Water District 1 and LWID are 40-year contracts. And Rural District 8 was only a 20-year contract. But the 40-year contract, I know with the LWID had something to do with their USDA.
they're all, usually a 40-year contract is there because there's USDA backing the purchaser.
Yeah.
Which they demand you have a long-term commitment.
Which, so their rates won't, they're still being raised though.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
matching production costs as much as.
Yeah.
So.
But the Rural Water 1 and LWID will actually be coming up for renewal, if you want to call it that, sooner than later.
Yeah, it's just, I haven't looked at them in a while, but yeah, they're always interested in talking about renegotiating, but usually what that means is they don't like.
They don't want to pay as much.
Yeah. I know LWID didn't want to be on the hook for the peak. When, yeah, they use a bunch of water in the summer because everybody's there, but then, no, you still have to design your system for peak usage. So,
Well, I'll get information for KCC and KRWA and have it ready for the 28th meeting. Is that August 28th?
August 28th, yes.
20?
Yeah, that's the next meeting.
Yep.
And if you get the information prior to that, send an email out to everybody. Give them an idea.
Well,
So we're prepared for it.
I might be able to get, I don't know if Rural Water can get anything in 2 weeks or not.
Well, probably.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Really?
Just
Okay,
ask them.
okay.
It's in the magazine or the website usually.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Tell them that Gary sent you.
I was wondering if he still writes for him. Does
He
he?
still works for me. It's his one client.
His one client.
Yeah, he's general counsel.
The fact that we're having a conversation about the water rates will help when we are trying to get a grant for renewing the water plant as well.
yeah, because I would think if you get any kind of a grant, they always want you to be kind of somewhere in the median anyway.
the US
So
What
Any
is that?
USDA
Is that
or-
in the 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, 50-year plan?
I think it was towards the tail end of the 5 is kind of where I thought
So you
that's where Mike was
plan on
thinking.
getting a new water plant in 5 years?
Me, no, I don't plan on being here in 5 years.
Well, I mean, if that's something huge, and we haven't talked about that, nor has the location ever been talked about either. So if that is a 5-year plan, why am I the first one to
Supposedly
hear about
was
it?
before I even came on board.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, we've
I
talked.
think they have done some improvements to it that were stopgaps.
Yeah, for zebra mussel
Well, not just that, but they did some
mitigation and
stuff
stuff.
like
but-
stairwells they call them.
Yeah,
But if you're talking about total renovation, yeah, you better be
no, I think it
on a
was,
5-year plan right now.
I think it was build a new water
Right,
plant.
because otherwise that's not gonna see any fruition. I mean, it's been several years since Mike's been in here and talked about a new water plant, and I want to say that's before Annie was on the council, so it's been a few years.
Yeah,
Because he hasn't been come regularly to the meetings for several, so
Well, your
that
USDA
5 years would
loans,
have already passed,
they're
is
gonna
what I'm
look
saying, so.
they're gonna either make you adjust your rates or
Yeah.
be happy with what you got.
yeah.
I mean, that's the whole theory behind the sewer rates going up, is so that we would be in line with financing for that. So.
Are we even still in line with that, or have we fell out of line since we've,
I-
you know, it's been like 3 or 4 years since we kind
Yeah.
of started the ball rolling on that. And
Well, I mean, and that's part of what Kramer's stuff has been recently too, was on the sewer.
yeah,
Because, and Mike and I talked about that, there was some reimbursement that the city will be entitled to, but once you ask for that reimbursement, then you have to start repaying on the loan or something.
yeah.
I'm not real clear on that because I just haven't been involved with it, so.
Yeah. I know basically the USDA was supposed to keep us, after the project, put enough money into in as a grant or free money, to where the cost would come out about, about national average for a sewer customer, so. I don't know, might be good that we do that now while the interest rates are high and then refi later and actually give the customers the drop, but who knows?
Okay, moving on. Before I give my mayor comments, is there any council concerns?
Should we, do we need to make a motion or something to let Kelly be a signer?
Oh, yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Tim. I had to mention that.
I'm moved to approve Kelly to be a signer for checks.
She bonded yet?
No, not yet.
We need
We
to do
talked
that
agency.
face first.
We talked to the insurance agent today and she was gonna get the paperwork.
You just, after that takes place.
Your call.
Okay, I'll change my motion to let Kelly be a signer after the bonding thing goes through,
After it's approved.
after it's approved.
Second.
You got that?
Got it.
Motion to approve Kelly for signatures after the bonding's approved by Tim, seconded by Justin. Further discussion? Those in favor? Okay, that passes. Julie, are you trying to get our attention for something here?
Just swatting flies.
Huh?
Just swatting flies.
Okay.
Now I was gonna let you know, they brought out my 5-gallon buckets for putting the buoys out,
Okay, thank you.
and there's chains on them, and they're all filled of concrete, all ready to go. And I called Jesse, and he said he could come out the first of this coming up week and put them out where they need to be. Now that it's gonna be Labor Day, it's a great time to do it. So. But anyway, it'll be done.
Cool.
Oh, was
Your
every
guy
great
that
city
promised
council
to come in and
better late
tag
than
his
never.
6 kayaks, did he ever come back?
We've been back in, but no.
She had a guy come in to tag his kayak. And he said, because I heard it's $20. And she said, yes. How many kayaks do you have? Well, I have 6. Well, that's 6 times 20. He folded his checkbook up and said, I'll be back later. Walked out the door.
They thought it was $20 for
He
all
lives
of
at the lake.
all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to get them registered. You just don't need to get caught on the lake with them.
Who's gonna catch?
Well, they're on our shoreline, so we said that if they're on our
What is
shoreline,
that?
they have to be registered.
Yeah. Somebody gotta catch him.
I got another person running the jet ski that's not. that I know of.
Is that the one that drives the jet ski all the way up to the East Bridge and flies all the way up there and turns on and heads back?
I
Past
don't
the
know.
No, I don't believe so.
no wake area?
No, it's a girl. But
Mary
I
Jane
have
to
no
quit
clue
doing
about it.
that.
I can't chase them down.
But do you know who it is? Or you just seen him?
She knows who it is.
I do.
Okay, well, let me know. Okay, all right. We have a new maintenance application. Jim Bob Burton. I'm saying all that correctly, am I not? Yeah, okay. So the council needs to decide if we're gonna interview him. Do you guys wanna look at the application and make that decision after you look at the application? How do you want to proceed? He's the last one as far as I know.
Is he still here? No. And see your beautiful beard over there.
Not in front of everybody, obviously. But, yeah.
Yeah, we can
Let's
schedule
talk to
him.
him. I
Let's
mean,
schedule.
And when do you want to do that?
I don't know.
When do you want to do that? I don't know.
I can believe you can do it
Well, no.
Yeah, I can't ask somebody to just interview on the spot like that.
No, and it has to be in a executive session. Too much public information out there that people can use
now.
against
Oh, we
it.
all know Jim Bob's business anyway.
Do
Good
we want to
Lord.
wait till before the next meeting, or do we want to do a?
I think it should be done. I think it should be done as soon as possible.
I agree.
Today's the 14th.
Easy as hell this week. So,
I don't
Yeah,
know.
school's starting very quickly. and it's
When does school starting by now?
Next Thursday.
The 24th.
Yeah.
So typically, we've done interviews on Tuesdays or Wednesday nights. So does anybody have anything that can stop them from being here, say? Really, it's kind of early, it's kind of early for me to say
Tuesday,
tomorrow,
Wednesday,
because I don't even
Thursday,
any day
or
this week. I
so.
don't even know what my schedule looks like at the moment. But
Fridays.
no, just do it Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday this week.
Tuesday doesn't work, but I'm okay Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday or Thursday. You okay?
Wednesday's not great. Thursday would be better, I
Okay.
think.
All right.
Off the top of my
How about you,
head.
Justin?
All right.
Work. Thursday works for you?
None.
No, he's got
None?
None.
No days
Sorry, I
work for
couldn't
you.
hear
First 3 days Saturday.
Michelle's not here tonight. You know she'll be available for the interview later in the week. or
That's
she
three of
not?
us right now, isn't it? Did you say yes or no?
I did not say yes.
Oh,
As far as I know, she would be available.
All right, let's find out who's available for Thursday night. And if we have 3 people, we'll go with Thursday night.
Angel says he's ready right now.
At what time?
FYI.
7 o'clock.
Ready to roll.
Mike here.
No, it's next week.
Yes, I think Mike should be here. He was involved in the interview of the last maintenance people.
Just gonna be able to see it, buddy.
I'll check with Mike.
We're gonna
and
schedule it
Michelle.
for Thursday at 7 PM, okay? Can you make it?
Yep.
Okay, if there's a change, I'll let you know, okay? And the only other thing I've got to pass along is that this Friday is a Flint Hills Regional Council Board meeting of which I will be attending. It's in Manhattan.
10-4. I moved to adjourn.
You got something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Flint Hills, I should have asked while Jana was here. I saw, Alta Vista got a park grant.
Oh, I meant to say that. Yeah, I'm
So-
glad you brought it up.
Um,
$71,500.
so how did they I guess that's a question for Jana, but how did they shoehorn that into the categories that were offered? Because I didn't see anything that said park grant or even really like facilities. So, I mean, I'd like to find out, I guess, how they did that, and I can ask.
Yeah, you can
I
ask
email
Janet,
her
but
and
I don't think
ask,
that was information that was put out last fall. I think that was something that these guys learned by going to the meetings since January,
Okay.
this past January. And then they're talking about all these grants that have been available to the communities that nobody's taken advantage of. And
It was CDBG as far as I can remember.
That's what they
So,
said.
yeah, and then,
I mean, it's,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
And
you
that's
know,
what got people pumped up because they were sending thousands and thousands of dollars back to DC every year because nobody's applying for grants.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the free money makes a lot more sense
Well,
than
yeah, I
the
mean,
people that are working their butts
it
off
went
for
for that sort of thing,
that.
tearing down buildings in the community that were dilapidated. All kinds of grant money is available.
Just. Burlingame got some. Ella Vista.
I haven't got a
See, there's
second
like
yet. I'm sure
five.
we will. We have a motion to adjourn.
Oh, did we do
I'll second.
mayor council concerns?
Yeah,
That's what we're doing.
We're doing it. Yeah, you have a
So, I didn't realize we were just still.
Get out your electronics and pay attention.
People are texting me about this conversation. We were just talking about the interview. That's what I'm still on. Add employee raises to the next meeting and then add me to the department reports, please. Okay. I guess that wasn't really comments and concerns. It was just bossy directions to Lisa.
Okay.
So we're looking at Thursday, the 17th.
Probably ought to know what you can increase water and gas rates to before we know what you can increase to employee raises.
Well, I think we can kind of
I mean, you can have a target in mind.
start discussions. I think that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, start to get this discussion started. It's the best
I'll
thing.
try to get some stuff on the water and gas rates also.
Okay, we have the second on that?
Not yet.
Dolly,
I move to
might be in favor.
adjourn. Second. Anybody else want to hear?
Motion to adjourn
Sorry,
by
I
Tim,
was
seconded by
distracted because my
Justin.
kid's got a fever. That's
Those in favor?
Those in
raging at
favor?
home right now. So.
All right.
Whatever. Yeah, I was gonna see. I might need to grab some Motrin from you because we've
Yeah.
only got.
I
shakes
go
out.
over there anyway.
Okay, I'll just come get some anyway.
I think I didn't look like them at all. I think he's outside.
No, he just got shots, so I think
That's all I need
he's
to do is
reacting
unplug it.
pretty
You want
badly
to do
to
anything more?
well,
Okay.
you can unplug it and close it.
Okay. First, I'll let you get upstairs.
No, you're fine. I gotta stand up myself. I must have sat
No,
too
no,
long
wait,
before this
if we don't put them down on the agenda, they get lost in the shuffle.
I